time. It's time. It's time. It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy. Yeah. 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 It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time.
How the fuck you got me up this damn early, Jason?
It's time.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy.
Yeah!
Indeed, what a week it was. Halloween weekend was very exciting. I'm finally, I think, still recuperating and feeling much better now, thankfully. Thank you, Mr. Jester, for the great party that you held Saturday. It was a great time. Let's go to our introductions. We'll start with the latest one that was here. Mike, the Straw Hernandez, better late than never. Welcome to the studio.
Not always there when you call, but I'm always on time. What up, fellas?
Yes, indeed. Love it. All right, Nick, welcome to the studio. Nick, you got flandered macaronis.
Well, thank you, Mr. Straw, for the Charlie Baltimore reference. I appreciate that from way back when. Yes, I am Nick. You got flandered macaronis. And you know what I was thinking today? What better thing to get a sports fan who's not only a sports fan, but a fantasy football sports fan and a fan of TSSFantasy.com. So what can you do to help them out? Go to TSSFantasy.com, click on the merchandise button, and pick out a lovely t-shirt. Don't pick out one. Don't pick out two. Pick out three. Why not? Okay? It's holiday season. Don't be a Grinch.
Let me tell you that Nick had me sold. I didn't even know that was a plug until like about 30 seconds into that. I was like, dang, where's he going with this?
Well, you say you had him sold, but I don't see the TSS stuff on, Mike. Where are you at, bro? Come on, let's get up with the merchandise. Tighten up, bro.
You're right.
All right, let's also
I'm using an old Jedi mind trick.
there
These
it
are not
was.
the droids you're looking for.
All right, that was definitely swing and a miss, Nick. All right, let's also welcome to the studio Dr. Jeffrey Miller. Welcome, my friend.
Gentlemen, good evening. Two things. Number one, Freddie, next year I want an invitation to this Halloween party. And number two, tonight on the house call, what NFL coach needs to start tuning in to TSS Fantasy?
Ooh, an NFL coach. Better start tuning in, listening up to the commish and the crew. I love it. All right. Don't forget, everyone, visit TSSFantasy.com. Get all of our current rankings, all of our latest shows, anything TSS, as Nick alluded to earlier. Also, everything on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, everything from racing to wrestling. They got it all. So check out all of our great podcasts on there as well. Don't forget also Unhinged Radio every morning, 8 to 9 a.m. We are the fantasy show of the people. We got a busy show tonight, so I just want to get this thing started. Let's start out with Dr. House Call.
All right, I think that's my cue.
The doctor is in.
There we go. Thank you, Nick. So we're going to get started on the house call tonight talking about the commissioner's number one pick, who year after year was consistent, scoring a lot of points. Yes, we're talking about Titans running back Derrick Henry. And sadly, he was placed on the IR on Monday this week with a fracture in his right foot. So specifically, this is a Jones fracture. And I don't think we've talked about a Jones fracture this season. So a Jones fracture occurs on the 5th metatarsal. So if you're not driving as you're listening and you're barefoot, you can reach down on the outside of your foot and you feel on that small toe side About midfoot, thank you, Nick, you're doing this. About midfoot, there's a little bump. That's called the tuberosity of your fifth metatarsal. A Jones fracture occurs just past that. Now, here's the challenge with the Jones fracture of the fifth metatarsal. There's a poor blood supply. And along with a poor blood supply comes a significant risk of poor healing or non-union healing. So accordingly, Derrick Henry was scheduled for surgery this morning. I haven't heard confirmation that it happened. Russell Wilson sent us a picture. I haven't seen a picture of Derrick Henry out of surgery, but again, supposed to happen this morning, Tuesday morning, likely to pin the fractured bony ends together. We're looking at a minimum of 6 to 10 weeks. He may be done for the season. So I want to pause on Derrick Henry right there. Commissioner, welcome back to the show. And I want to take a moment to give some respect to Derrick Henry. I did this with Fitzpatrick earlier in the season. We talked about toughness walking off the field after dislocating his hip. And now I want to talk about Derrick Henry's toughness, because he was not only seen walking on the sideline without his cleat after the fracture occurred, but he returned to finish the game. So respect to Derrick Henry. Dude played on a broken foot. And so I think that's admirable. Now, again, as I mentioned a moment ago, Jones fractures have a high recurrence rate, especially if he returns prematurely. So minimum of 6 to 10 weeks, maybe, sorry, Commissioner, maybe season ending.
That's all I have to say about that. I don't know what else to say. I have no luck at all. That's all. All right, who else you got next? I'm done with Derrick Henry.
Oh, no. Let's talk about James Robinson, if I understand correctly. He's also a back of yours.
Back.
So this is, I think, encouraging news. It was originally thought to be a significant ankle injury. He escaped that. He's presently being diagnosed as a bruised heel. Presently, he's day-to-day. Now, it's possibly plays Sunday, but I want to watch the injury report. If this goes from a bruised heel to a bone bruise, this could go several weeks. But until Wednesday's report comes out, as long as we're going with bruised heel, again, day-to-day, probably going to play on Sunday.
All right, real quick, my bad. Hey, let's get to the fantasy stuff. Carlos Hyde, for sure, would be the pickup this week, just in case James Robinson doesn't go. We'll check back for a second real quick. Between you guys, give me your assessment on the Titans situation. Jeremy Mickles, or you like Adrian Peterson? Who are you targeting in that backfield?
Adrian Peterson is good for a touchdown. Adrian Peterson will get you 7 points right from the jump. I think he's going to get involved as early as this week. So I could see Adrian Peterson and McNichols kind of complementing each other. They're going to have to go to a whole new offense. I think you said that last night, and I agreed with you 100%. I think they're going to have to just reinvent what they do and just end up using both running backs equally. So it's not like you're going to get benefit with either one versus the other.
Nick, what do you think?
I slightly disagree with my esteemed colleague. I think McNichols is going to be the better play because he's younger. He's got less tread on the tires. And I heard a great analogy. If you rough up your tires and you put them away in the garage and then break them back out a year or two later, they don't retread. So I think he'll give you that initial burst. I'm not saying that
he's good for a touchdown, 7 points.
Oh yeah, he will definitely fall. He'll definitely fall in the end zone. But I think out of 100 carries, we're going to see a nice 60-40 split.
Fair. There's nothing coming.
All right. Well, yeah, we talked about it last night. They should definitely, again, reinvent that offense a bit. You got Julio Jones and you got A.J. Brown. So, all right, who else you got, Doc?
We'll talk about Kyler Murray, and every report on this kind of says the same thing. Sprained his ankle on the, quote, second to last play. Everybody's highlighting second to last play.
Who else you got, Doc?
Of their loss to the Packers on Thursday night. This is a medial ankle sprain. We don't talk as much about the medial ankle as we do the outside or lateral ankle or even the high ankle. The medial ankle sprain occurs, again, to the inside of the ankle, to the deltoid ligament in there, not to be confused with the shoulder, but the deltoid ligament on the inside of the ankle. This ligament requires a lot of force to sprain. So presently we're looking at a 1 to 3 week injury. Regardless of when he comes back, his mobility is going to be limited. I'm curious to see what practice reports look like from the next couple of days and or weeks. And although the reports are 1 to 3 weeks on him, I think we're too soon to tell how he's going to respond to some early treatment.
All right. Well, that's cause for concern for Kyler Murray, and that is for sure. Who else you got for tonight, Doc?
All right, so Jameis Winston's season is over. If you watch this was a gruesome tackle. His left foot was planted, and he got tackled, pulled down to his left side, and that knee just buckled inward. So ACL tear, shutting down his season. Mr. Commissioner,
yeah, I've torn both my
there we go.
ACLs, and I could just feel it watching that tackle, man. And that just not look good.
That's brutal. Maybe an opportunity for Cam Newton to get some.
My internet obviously is sucky tonight, my friend. Nick, let's let you take over hosting for a little bit while I get the internet back.
Okay, Dr. Miller, let's talk about Rob Gronkowski.
Sure. Let's talk about Gronk. So, missed a month.
Who else you got?
I'm still talking about Gronk. Missed a month. Came back and suffered back spasms in his return. So, here we go. Coach Arians said, Gronk, quote, probably shouldn't have played, but he kept begging to get in there and re-injured himself. So that's quoting the coach. I want to highlight that if the coach had listened to this program, he would have been advised to sit Gronk in that game because of their upcoming bye. Would have given him 2 more weeks of load management, 2 more weeks of rest, call it what you will. But this show called it. We called it a week ago. Gronk should not have been playing. Should have taken the opportunity to finish resting and get back up to game speed. These back spasms are particularly concerning. You know, for the average player, maybe not a big deal, but he's had 3 back surgeries. And this is since 2009. I think they were from 2009 to 16 to fix a number of different things, including but not limited to herniated disc and a fractured vertebrae. So guy's got a history of back injury. And so I think spasms may be indicative of potentially a little more than spasms for somebody else. So I'm concerned about Gronk. I expect him to return, but he shouldn't have been playing in the first place.
No. Like you said earlier, he had a week off this week. I don't know what. First of all, you never, ever let the player decide when they're injured, when they're going to play, because they're going to tell you, oh, I'm good. Just shoot me up. I'm good. I'm good. So never listen to the player. We got T.Y. Hilton. He's got 2 things. He's got a concussion and a thigh. Correct?
Yeah, I don't have anything to report about the thigh. Like you mentioned, concussed on Sunday. Team's had a short week, so he's out on Thursday. Nothing really else to say about T.Y. Hilton. Not playing this week.
Damian Williams.
Yeah, so something else. I don't have a lot of injury information about either Williams or, while we're talking about the Bears, Herbert. Williams exited in the first quarter with a knee injury. I don't have any specifics as to what the knee injury is at this point. If either one of you guys have heard details, I'd love to talk about it on the show. But right now, that's all I've got is knee injury. Love the specifics sometimes that the NFL offers. And Khalil Herbert took a knee to the helmet, but did return. So that's encouraging.
Okay, and then we got finally Chris Carson. Now his neck injury, it's a cervical neck. So is that something like what Peyton Manning went through, or is it something different?
So I don't want to speak about Peyton Manning's injury history without first doing a little bit of homework on it. Manning had a number of different fusions, but that's about the extent to which I feel confident speaking from memory on Manning. It's been a couple of years.
Okay.
But Carson's been dealing with these herniations in his neck for a while now. I mean, we've been talking about this on and off all season, if not longer. And I just want to kind of highlight some of the conflicting information on this. So on October 29th, Pete Carroll said, quote, Carson has to make a turn here to show he's getting better. But then fast forward a couple of days, and on November 2nd, coach said he wants to go for it next week. So I don't know what to think about this. Yes, they got a bye coming up this week, and so maybe he's optimistic, but this has been a roller coaster. Symptom behavior with a disc herniation can vary a little bit. We talked about it, I think, last week. The weakness, the numbness, the pain can all come and go, can all radiate into the upper extremity or hand. So I don't know what to say about Chris Carson, but it sounds like neither does Pete Carroll.
I think Pete, we had mentioned last night, I think he's trying to be optimistic and he's letting the fans know, hey, he's coming back. But really, I mean, when you're messing with your neck, especially for a running back, that is no bueno. That's nothing to mess with. I mean, one hit, you're done.
Absolutely.
So, Coop, you ready to take it back over, or are you still making these coming back? But really, I mean, when you're not.
All right. So, Dr. Miller, who else you got this week?
I got one more to finish up the house call tonight. We'll talk about Dak Prescott. And we talked about him last week. We said that, the final play of week number 6, he sustained a calf strain, showed up to the
I hope, can you hear me, I guess would be the first question.
We can hear you.
No?
Yes.
Showed up
Just
to the
wait
post-game interview in a walking boot. And he's been out of the boot over a week now. He was expected to play last Sunday, didn't play. And now we're hearing that he had a PRP injection in the interim there. And so I want to talk a little bit about PRP because we haven't yet spoken about it on this show. PRP stands for platelet-rich plasma. And the goal here is to draw your own blood, to spin it down, essentially to concentrate the blood, more specifically the blood's growth factors, and re-inject that into his calf. So at some point in the last couple of days, Dak Prescott did get PRP injections. Now, I've been hearing some medical criticism about this decision. Initially, after those injections, there's this pro-inflammatory response. And so
It's time. It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy.